Well, today being Wednesday also means that it is half week. Half. Now, one of the words that have been quite cumbersome in terms of grammar is the word half, because no one wants to take half of anything. For example, I've had a conversation with someone this morning and we're having a discussion about how do you share a partner. The sentiments, and for both sexes, however, there are a group of people who think that it should be normal, and these are basically men. Now, the Gentiles think that it's okay for them to share, or to be shared, actually. That's why we talk about half. I'm imagining how they are sliced, their feelings, their hearts, their sentiments, and some traditions, or you want to call them religions, actually acknowledge this sharing to be legal in terms of what they believe. For example, our Muslim brothers are accepted to at least wed up to 4 women. Is that sharing in 4 pieces? It's a bit tricky, but I would say that good morning to you all, and thank you so much for waking up with us here on Good Morning Uganda. And of course, most of you have been sending in your comments since the show on Monday. We've been commenting about issues of language, and of course, some of you have been making comment about what's happening in the country. But today, as we do start this day, we do remind you that COVID is still real. People are dying, even if the numbers are so low. But of course, they talk about spread is quite high because people are not maintaining the SOPs. Also, sadly, yesterday, we lost one of the historicals, that is a member of the UPDF, but also a Ugandan, and one of the people who took out and gave out their lives to fight for the liberation of this dear country, that is General Pecos Kutesa, who passed away in India. We do send our condolences and heartfelt of the same to the family, and of course the family of the UPDF, and to His Excellency the President of Uganda. Speaking about sending condolences, many people in these times like this have also apprehended to fear and have lost so much. Something I didn't lose are my 2 colleagues, that is Robert and Priscilla, who I want to say good morning to, and I'll start with you, Priscilla. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Felix. You have talked about sharing, and you reminded me this morning when I was on my way to Good Morning Uganda, I witnessed something that I haven't seen in a long time. I saw a dog that had actually grabbed a chicken by the neck, and it was moving. It had done the hunting, and so it was looking for a safe place to actually have it. I don't know if it's dinner or breakfast, but if that's breakfast, then that is buffet. So it was interesting to see that, yeah, animals within communities can still do some hunting. They still have those natural instincts. They don't wait for the food to come in the kennel or something like that. And it was mind-blowing for me. So it put a smile on my face of, yes, ecosystem. We have to coexist with the animals, but even animals have to coexist with each other. A dog and a chicken. You do have the rat in the house that has to coexist with a cat in the house. And the cycle goes on and on. But my name is Priscilla Nalwoga, and I'm delighted to be with you this Wednesday morning, 18th August 2021. Kirabo, you do have dogs.
I'm a dog breeder, and now I sympathize with the owner of cock or hen, because that is automatic. When you find a dog at that time, it has either broken into someone's poultry farm, or by accident, maybe one did not return home, and along the way, because dogs are domestic animals. They're supposed to be fended for, not to go and hunt, more so within the city. So I sympathize. There's someone who's going to wake up, shed tears, because they don't see their bird around.
Yes, that's true. That's very true. Yeah.
Because if you had seen it maybe with an antelope or something, or what, then you say, yes, it has been hunting, but this is theft, in my opinion. It's not a well managed animal. But I want to say a lovely morning to you, our dear viewers. Thank you so much for waking up with us, and it is our pledge to ensure we spice up your morning with relevant information as you go about business. Priscilla, we must warn Ugandans that away from COVID-19, now you have a threat of polio.
Yes, we have had an outbreak of polio, which is a sad story, because I remember when I was younger, there used to be that campaign, Kick Polio Out of Uganda, and the Ministry of Health had done a good job to actually kick polio out of Uganda. It was history. But you know, COVID-19 has become the priority for the health sector, and so other diseases, we're going to be witnessing a lot of other outbreaks.
Polio, our brothers in northern Uganda, there is a plague in Congo that they are scared. and hope it doesn't enter Uganda. So there is so much that a person has to watch out now when it comes to ensuring that you safeguard yourself against very dangerous diseases.
The Semboda also actually had a cholera outbreak between March and April. We had an outbreak of cholera there, but it was put under management, so we hope the best will also be given in terms of healthcare in dealing with polio outbreak in Uganda.
Of course, much of some of these are what we call the endemics. Yes, they are caused by laxity in how countries or administrations approach them. For example, you look at challenges like polio. We've been able to deal with it for at least over 30 years, and why now? Where is the loophole? Where is the gap? Because this is entirely an immunizable disease. Are people not taking kids for immunization? Or is there a new variant, as the word is?
Okay, it is a new, because I was watching Dr. Alfred Duruwale, who is the commissioner in charge of immunization and vaccines, and he said this was first witnessed within our region in South Sudan. So it's not the usual polio that we're used to. So this is something new that requires more research and Ugandans being up to the game when it comes to how best they can prevent themselves.
How can Ugandans be up to the game? All they can do is tell them, take the kids here, and they take them. That is the only up to the game they can
because
be.
This also affects
I think it's mature people.
Yes.
Ah.
This new, so there's so much that we are discovering in this era. First we thought it was for the young ones, but this new trend will be giving you more of that affects even mature people, as long as your immune system is low.
Away from the polio thing, I understand before you became a cruiser, or you had your own ride and all these things, and probably Priscilla as well, you used to use public means. And if you don't mind, just what was your worst experience using public means, taxis in particular?
Mine was when I had an appointment in a hurry, and I never understand why these people would leave the taxi park, then immediately go to refill at a fuel station. You know, the moment they're out of the taxi park, they know they're going to take people. But at the end of the day, it's very, oh sorry, that I was going to use. It's very funny or annoying that you're time bound, and then this person goes, I think it was Mandela, there was a petrol station just after the old taxi park. I hope it's still there.
It's still there.
So the guy goes there. There are many of them.
So it takes 30 minutes because there's so many in line. Yeah.
Refilling. Another thing that usually used to upset me, you know, for the taxi operators, the person who is mobile is that one who is still outside. The moment you enter that taxi, you cease to be of value to them. So omusabaza ali wabweru ye musabaza atudde munda, for you we have you. I think those were some of the things that really used to annoy me.
Priscilla, any?
Well, for me, first of all, especially night time, the taxis would become scarce. Between 6:30 and 8:30, you'd have scarcity of transport, especially for my area code. Now, that would be challenging. You go to the park, sit in the park, and wait and wait and wait and wait. And then also the long hours of waiting just from the park, Queensway, to access Entebbe Road. That also, I never understood why police officers would make us wait that long. So it would be really annoying.
I think the story behind police officers making people wait on the road was probably because the president was coming.
No, it was daily bread, Felix. Daily bread, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, I guess the president was moving on a daily.
Every day. But at that time he was in State House. They had not yet gotten Entebbe. So
oh,
but Felix,
myself.
There's also a memory I have, I don't know if it's still happening in taxis. You know, when we used to go to Nakasero Primary School, so there was this thing called kameme.
Oh yes.
So you would eat your transport, and by then, Ugandans were so generous that young kids would not pay fares. As long as that place is not yet occupied, even if you've chewed your transport, hey, Mulekabana, you sit there comfortably. Though it had, sometimes some were very hot, by the way.
Because that's where the engine
Not
is.
sometimes, all the
Some
time.
were very hot.
That's where the engine is. So you
But what we used to do, you would first put your bag down. That's what we used to do. You
and
put
you
your
sit
bag,
on your back.
then you sit on
So
the bag.
that is the sweet memory I remember about that. Kutula
Yeah,
kameme.
but also it had
People
an
were
age
polite.
limit. You wouldn't be in P7 and you'd be seeing your car
Yeah, it
head
had
would be.
some, it had
you'd-
some levels. Once
You could only stop in around P3, P4 because by
Nakasero had lower school and upper school. So once you would cross to upper, that is P3
But there are
onwards,
some people
you
here
would
who had
know
an
that
advantage, I'm pretty sure, up to P7.
yeah, that also is true
What?
because even up till today. But anyway, mine was when I remember I was coming from the stage at, we call it Kumbugo there in Nalwoga, and we used to, from Lubiri then, and then we get in a taxi with all these gang goes, but there was these three chicks from about, I think they were in S4. You know those babes, how they feel good, they are really clean, neat and beautiful. So we get in a taxi, we are talking, and they keep on looking at us like we are all disgusting. And then they reach somewhere in Deva and they're getting out. Now this chick is like, wow, rubbish. And the conductor is like, rubbish. Now when he sees the car is actually just bypassing the stage, like, Chirabe, our Kasasiro. And I'm like, why did you just say Kukasasi? What? The taxi man was like,
there's also one thing that killed me in taxi. So one time I sit in front, there's this campus girl, I want to assume she was campus. So I think the taxi guy wanted to vibe. No campus people, wanted to vibe. So he was reading everything we were coming across. So we met this taxi behind, had a sticker, God is able. And he says he's driving, Onayatayako, God is able. So reading able as God is able. I don't know why he read it that way. So this chick burst into laughter, the entire taxi, because I think they were frustrated. He was reading almost everything. You know, Ugandans have some stickers they put.
Yes, on the taxis.
But when he pronounced that word very loud, so that taxi had a couple of people and they were tired at night, so everyone burst into laughter.
Yeah, you
and
have
he
to
knew,
impress
I think
a
he
girl
had
at
a
whatever cost.
Anyway.
But away from taxis, today is not taxi day. Is it World Taxi Day? No, it's not. Just to remind you that Hallelujah ginger tea drink and tamarind drink are the best options for you to start off your day. Get these natural drinks. They're extracted from ginger and tamarind in the most natural way, and they're delivered to you in the simplest way. So every single morning, pick up one ginger tea drink or one tamarind drink. My personal recommendation would be the tamarind drink, and be able to boost your immunity system. You are hearing cholera outbreaks, polio outbreaks, and all these outbreaks here and there. While you take care of your health, it's paramount that you also take care of the immunity and the health of your loved ones, most especially children. So many times I think parents are so obsessed with keeping yourselves healthy, you forget that your children also must be kept healthy. So please take care of your loved ones with these natural drinks.
But also, do not forget to follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. And you may also share your sentiments about your experiences in taxis on our WhatsApp number. You can tell us about the pronunciation of those things, what the conductor said to you that really embarrassed you, or the driver. And we'll be able to share it here on air. But also, you may also be able to comment on our poll question today, being, the poll question is, can Uganda afford the refugee cost burden as we receive Afghanistan refugees today? Voila. Today we'll be receiving Afghanistan refugees. So the poll question is, can Uganda afford the refugee cost burden as we receive Afghanistan refugees today? You can share this on our WhatsApp number, that is 0709 60 25 92. Again, 0709 60 25 92. But also don't forget to follow us. Now we will be taking you through what did happen yesterday in the news, and of course later on we'll also be looking at international stories in the same realm. Robert.
And we'll begin with the head of state rejecting to assent to two bills that were brought before him after they were passed by Parliament. That is, President Kaguta Museveni rejected to assent to two controversial bills of the Sexual Offences Bill 2019 and that of Succession Amendment Bill 2021. The President asked Parliament to reconsider some clauses in the two bills on grounds that they may cause more harm to the public than before the laws would be in place. The Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Anita Amongi, ordered the Legal Affairs Committee to revise the bills and be ready within 2 weeks. The President, in the Sexual Offences Bill, rejected almost all the clauses in the bill on grounds that the Penal Code Act already criminalized those sexual offences, and advocates of the bill are advocating for. The Deputy Speaker communicated the President's directive to the House during a sitting That was yesterday. It should be noted that the Sexual Offences Bill had raised controversies among the MPs in the 10th Parliament on punishment for rape, defilement, adultery, offenders, and issues to do with consent. Another bill the President also rejected to assent to is the Succession Amendment Bill 2001. The bill seeks to harmonize property sharing in case of divorce or death among couples, and it gives 80% of the surviving partner while 20% for the dependents, which the President said will cause more harm in the society than before.
Yesterday, the Parliamentary Committee on Education and Sports interacted with officials from the Ministry of Education and Sports, headed by the Line Minister and First Lady Janet Kataha Museveni. In a meeting held at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds in Kampala, according to Dr. Dennis Mugima, the ministry spokesperson, the discussion was squared on the resumption of schools. The spokesperson said among the modalities is the adjustments in the calendar and the syllabus. As to when Senior 1 and Senior 5 students will report back to school, the ministry says it's devising means and timelines for them. Members of Parliament also requested for a candid explanation regarding 25 billion shillings package, according to teachers by government. Teachers training institutes are among those government is willing to resume concurrently with other classes.
Security, where recently in his address the President warned security forces that use of excessive force while dealing with members of the public and as well as discouraging torture of suspects to get information. Fred Egesa, a security expert, believes that lack of discipline, command and control is the various that is disorganizing security operations, especially in Uganda Police Force. It is on rare occasions where police stands out a success without trace of harm, injury, or even death. This has over time raised public outcry on how the law enforcement is handled, henceforth painting the security image black. Many are in the spotlight for using excessive force while dispersing crowded civilians, conducting arrests and giving orders. Police officers are captured in videos globally, unarmed civilians, but and then later on move away scot-free. In these operations, our security agencies reinforce police and still do the same. The police, mostly those on operations, strive or survive by doing this day to day, where sometimes they get tokens from those that they torture. Fred Egesa, a security analyst, believes that this is lack of discipline, command and control, which has led to this in the police force. President Museveni is not in support of this, and he warned security agencies against carrying out torture or injuring the public when enforcing the law. On the other hand, Fred Egesa terms the act of torturing suspects to extort information as barbaric and primitive. But what needs to be done to reverse the trade is something that police and security agencies must find a way of doing.
Yesterday, during a session at Lira High Court, Justice Vincent Emi Mugabo granted leave of withdrawal of the election petition in which former Lira City mayoral candidate Mike Ogwang was challenging the declaration of Sam Atur as the city mayor. Ogwang had petitioned the city mayor Sam Atur and Electoral Commission on grounds that the person perpetually declared to be winner was not duly elected, but after a successful mediation by Bishop Emeritus Alfred Okiro, his lawyer Dennis Odongo of Okwi and Company Advocates returned to court, requesting court to withdraw the case in the interest of peace and reconciliation. While reacting to this, the petitioner Mike Ogwang said he realized Lira City to develop, it requires unity amongst its leaders.
By looking at UK, where it is also meant to welcome about 20,000 Afghans amid Taliban takeover. Now, the thousands of Afghan refugees will be resettled in the UK after the Taliban seized control of Kabul. The UK government has made this promise. Now, the new scheme will also set up 20,000 Afghan offered a route to set up home in UK in the coming years. Now, in the first year, 5,000 refugees will be eligible, with women, girls and others in need having priority. Now, Home Secretary, that is Priti Patel, urged that other countries to help in the same way. However, some of the opposition parties have criticized the settlement scheme for not going far enough. Now, the new plan is on top of the existing scheme for the interpreters and staff who worked for the UK. Some 5,000 Afghans and family members are expected to benefit from the policy. Parliament also has been recalled, and Prime Minister Boris Johnson is open to debate in the House of Commons about the situation of Afghans. Now, still about international stories, Haiti earthquake, tropical storm Grace hamper rescue. Now, rescue workers following the deadly earthquake which struck Haiti on Saturday has been hampered by heavy rains brought by tropical storm Grace. Tens of thousands of people left homeless by the earthquake, and also many of them still don't have places to go. At least 1,419 people are known to have died in the 7.2 magnitude earthquake. More than 6,900 were injured, and an unknown number are still missing. Rescue works dug through rubble on Monday in a separate attempt to find survivors before the heavy storms. Now we do cross back to Africa. Still, we will be looking at South Africa. Activists slam JJ for exporting vaccines. Now, health activists in South Africa have slammed Johnson & Johnson for exporting vaccines produced in South Africa to countries in Europe which have already immunized large numbers of their people and have even donated vaccines to more needy countries. Now, 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson vaccine were exported, at least from South Africa, where they had been assembled despite the pressing need for vaccination across Africa, where less than at least 3% of the country's 1.3 billion people have been fully vaccinated. South African activists on Tuesday called for a full disclosure of the South African government contracts with Johnson & Johnson and other vaccine manufacturers, and threatened legal action to get the information, as press briefings on Tuesday were. Now, reacts and revelations of the same say that New York Times that millions of Johnson & Johnson doses produced by Aspen Pharmacare in South Africa city of Gabra, formerly Port Elizabeth, are being exported back into Europe. Well, clearly, Africa redefines itself in trueness of being in a iota of damnness with what we see from most of these countries. But most interesting is what we'll be discussing here later. And of course, Priscilla would want to also take us through some of the comments which are about her topic, tax conductor.
Well, the plight of being in a taxi, we have Moses that sends us a message and says that the taxi conductor stole an envelope of his that actually had documentation, very important documentation. Now that is.
Do you know how it's hard to look for a taxi in this country?
To get to look for a taxi in this country, but also to replace your documentation in this country, it is very, very hard. It's a cumbersome process.
So the conductor probably thought there was money or something.
Definitely.
It's an envelope. So they thought. So he ended up losing his Oliver documentation at the time. So
sorry.
That's really a sad one, Moses. But I hope you were able to recover those documents in one way or another. But I would like to also know the process of recovery of those documents. Similar to it, I had actually an experience, and my experience there was also very interesting. It still even it was an envelope, and the driver himself picked that envelope and took it, and it had money. So it was.
But also there was a time, Priscilla, when there was theft in the taxi, where they would pretend your door has an issue. So there was a time when they had that. There was a racket of people stealing in taxis, using taxis to steal. But it was later on.
So people lost phones.
Yeah, so.
Anyway, taxi drama is taxi drama. People who be on their phones during traffic jam also, and you're there tweeting, Facebooking, Instagramming. And and then they borrow it for you since you don't have an actual use for it. They take it, resell it on the market. If you have some company, they can give it to you back, because they would usually call you and tell you they have your phone, just come with this amount of money.
Also that irritate the taxi. Someone is on phone speaking a funny language, very loud. Like, please.
Okay, all right. On to our poll question. We do have a response. Good morning, Priscilla and Robert. Thanks for the program. This is Patrick. I think Uganda is more capable of holding more refugees than the current number. He's responding to a poll question, which this morning is in the regards it's in regards to the refugees that we are expecting to receive from Afghanistan. Yes, so we will be having those. That's our poll question. Can Uganda afford the refugee cost burden as we receive Afghanistan refugees today? Please do share your sentiment and tell us what you expect from them coming into the community eventually. As we are getting into the next hour, we are signing out, leaving you with the song of the day, which is by Juliana Kanyomozi. Do enjoy.
Headlines every Wednesday at 10 p.m. with Charles Odongto
was brought to you by...
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Echa COVID-19 kijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
Uganda, today is a great day to work towards your dreams. Dial *185 *7# and select savings to save as low as 500 Ugandan shillings on regular savings or 250,000 Ugandan shillings for fixed deposits. Airtel Money Super Saver is powered by KCB Bank Uganda. Airtel Money, instant, secure, borderless. T's and C's apply.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning to you once again. Thank you so much for keeping it to UBC. And it is Good Morning Uganda, continuing into a new hour, 7 o'clock hour, where we are privileged to now look at a matter of not only national importance, but social importance, economic importance, and infrastructure importance. And that is the refugees. But before we get into that, I am joined by Robert Kirabo and Felix Nkunda. We were joking earlier on that we are the three fugitives from refugees from our homes. Yes, but we just had a song for the day that came in from a legendary, seasoned singer, that is Juliana Kamnyomozi, who is a favorite or has a special place in Ruben Pima's heart and also Robert Shirabo's heart.
But also, I would want to I would want to ask Ruben, how old do you think this beautiful lady is?
How old? That's a good question.
Because I remember when I was, I think, at Shimoni, she used to work at Capital or something like that. So that is something that I want my Ndugu Ruben Igwema to answer later, probably, because either he's a toddler to the legendary, as Priscilla called her, or they are probably in the same league. Because even Ruben Siwa Joe.
That's what makes it.
Okay, Sebo, your sentiments about your best musician, you call her your best musician.
My favorite.
Okay.
That is Juliana Kanyomozi. One, I like her because of her character.
Which is?
Because very few ladies reach that level of fame and still conduct themselves the way she does.
Modest.
Modesty with respect. Actually, for me, I refer to her as the princess from Toro Kingdom.
Oh.
Yeah, because even at a time, you remember this is the lady who surprised the world that she had given birth.
How is that a surprise?
No, I'm saying many celebrities today...
Given the age bracket that you've put
leave
her
alone
in.
the age bracket.
No.
Today we see ladies, what do you call it? When she's pregnant and takes funny pictures, the belly is portraying and all that. So you see how she does her things. Then also, you've talked about age. From the day I first set my eyes on Juliana till today, she still looks the same. How she's managed to maintain her body shape, how she's managed to maintain her status in the music industry. Everything about her is just... Everything about
a couple of weeks ago, she came out on her YouTube channel to talk about her journey when she was giving birth, the challenges she had. I think she was in Canada. Then I was alone. And I'm thinking in my mind, so you wanted to be with who? And then, you know, all those funny things. And I'm thinking, sweetheart, this is not your thing. Like, she's not like everybody's saying, honestly, that's not the Juliana we know. She was talking about, then my baby came, then I got the thing, then the stomach moved, and had no one to tell the stomach is moving.
Enough words to the Princess of Toro. Yeah. Please, let's continue.
Thank you very much.
And she, of course, giving birth is a surprise. So what?
No, you see, it's special. Very few people knew that she was pregnant. Celebrities today, like I told you,
that's not our newsreel.
They'll find out they're dressing, then take those.
We shall have this discussion in the break time. On to our newsreel this morning. We have, in the last 24 hours, received news that Uganda is expected to host about 2,000 Afghanistan refugees. Now, we all know what's happening in refugees, the war, the Taliban war, and how USA has actually stepped back, and that means that so many refugees are expected to be spread across the world to different host nations. Now, United States, at its request, requested Uganda to be one of the hosts for those refugees, 2,000 in number. And so we had Esther Anyakun, who's the Uganda State Minister for Relief, Disaster and Preparedness, stating that the president is actually making preparations through that particular ministry for the 2,000 refugees to be received in Uganda starting today. They're going to be coming batch by batch, expected in 500s. But we're not the only country. We have UK also. We just did a story earlier on. UK is also receiving 5,000 Afghanistan refugees. We are trying to be helpful to a nation. But when we look at our record here in Uganda as a refugee host nation, in Africa, we are ranked #1 in terms of the highest number of refugees that we have here. We have had refugees starting from 1993 when we had the Rwanda genocide to our neighboring country, and we had a lot of people from Rwanda actually running to seek asylum and to seek refugee settlement in Uganda for security, for life's sake. And since then, we have hosted Burundi refugees after the Burundi war that also happened, genocide in the same manner. We have had refugees from South Sudan, we've had refugees from Congo, from Somalia, Eritrea, and the list goes on and on. In the world, we are ranked #3 in host nations with the largest number of refugees, which then seems normal that we are requested by the United States to actually host the 2,000 Afghanistan refugees. But the question that so many Ugandans are starting to ask themselves is, why Uganda? And what's Uganda's refugee policy in the first place as we await these refugees? Which question I will turn to Felix.
And you see, I've been trying to get the in-depth of this story even since this whole Taliban thing, because the anticipation was actually the negotiations are not most recent. They probably date back about a week and a half when we started to have these discussions, because this was seen or prone to happen. When US pulled out, the expectation is what exactly has actually happened. Now, coming back to Uganda, you do take cognizance of the fact that refugees can only be in a country that has peace. Now, the underlying factor or statement is that the refugee host behavior or demeanor of our country is the evidence of a very peaceful country. And that's credit. That's the start. That's why you're not seeing people being resettled to countries which still have challenges, like probably Sudan. You've not had Congo. So it's tentative to that, and that's kudos for Uganda. Secondly, that the host state must have what we call both political, social, economical, and also the atmospheric capability to take care of refugees and in any state. The word refugees comes along with a lot of things. For example, rehabilitation. It comes along with aspects of survival, aspects of also, there's something international they call international safeguard. That the people you're hosting must be safe from where they are running from. That the position they are in, they cannot be accessed by the things or situation. For example, you can't have refugees be sent in a war-torn country. If refugees are running from hunger, they cannot be settled in a place where they are going to die of hunger. So before even Uganda gets to the point of hosting refugees, it must be clearly in position to take up some of these confirmations as desired by the United Nations. Now, in this particular sense, having satisfied all these international standards, there then comes what we call the lien state mandates as a country. The effects in terms of how efficient it can be and effective. And now, this would also mean that this is on top of the duty owed to the citizens vis-a-vis the duty they owe to the refugees. You gave a background and you talked about that springs as far as 1993. And I think even before that, the first genocide of Rwanda was in 1959 or something like that, sometime back around that time. Even then we had people, and that brings in, if you've most recently heard that there are very many Banyarwanda origin people in Uganda who, most recently, they call themselves Bavandimwe or something like that.
Bavandimwe.
And that's the beginning, that they came here as refugees in that first, even some also came in 1993 because it's quite a time even up till now. But they have since then resettled and now are Ugandans by the different ways you get Ugandans. If they are not, their children are anyway.
By birth.
Yes. So what am I saying? That after having qualified or being made good with international stature to hold refugees, the second question would be, how good have you made with the domestic or the citizens of the country? Is it something that can freely and be good, that can get into sync with the population? That's the question now for us today. We are hosting many refugees. Talk of Eritreans, Ethiopians, South Sudan people, Sudan itself, Rwanda, Burundi, Congo, at least the most known. The question is, how has the country learned to live among them or with them? Secondly, is there any attachment in terms of socio-economic growth of the country? Because everything else will work towards that side. The only problem up till today is that people will benefit fairly where communities stay, which is general. They will rent,
by people,
they will buy food.
The locals, the natives?
Yes, the Wananchi will benefit in small portions, but there ought to be a bigger bargain.
But you see, what you're saying is a long term, because before when they're brought in, they're going to be brought into camp, which camps are in designated places and before they can have the permission.
No, of course, it makes difference. It makes a difference in those communities, where the camps are. It does make a difference in terms of those daily transactions and trades and what. But what I'm saying is that that's not good enough. That if we are being ranked as third in the world, first in Africa, how does that particular positioning assist a third world country in terms of its elevation, in terms of social network, in terms of economic network, in terms of religion and political policies?
All right. We do, Robert Kirabo, I believe you can give us an answer in that retrospective, but we do have a poll question in this very same regard. I know all over social media from yesterday, Ugandans have been sharing their opinions. We want your opinion here in Good Morning Uganda. Can Uganda afford the refugee cost burden as we receive Afghanistan refugees starting today? Hashtag UBCGMU. The WhatsApp number is on your screen. Please do share your thoughts and sentiments. Felix brings in line tonight that we have to look at this subject matter in terms of social development, economic development, political interference or affiliation for that matter, and international relations. Where do we see the benefits of actually having this engagement, being a host nation for refugees?
Well, maybe, Priscilla, before I go to that, let me use this opportunity also to first call upon my government that as we are looking at bringing Afghanistan refugees to Uganda, we have Ugandans that are in Afghanistan and they're working. There is a company called Watertight Security Service Providers. They have about 300 Ugandans that are working as security guards. And just to take you back, if you remember the first wave of COVID, we were able to evacuate about 97 Ugandans that returned out of about 137 that asked to be brought back home. So we should prioritize that. We know very well we don't have an embassy in Afghanistan, so this is something that our government should prioritize. It is not safe for the Afghanistan, neither is it safe then for Ugandans. But to go back to your question, first when we talk about international relations, and I want to look at this at first, this is good PR. A country you're talking about having
public relations?
Yeah, I'm beginning with that on the international perspective, that yes, Uganda is one of the countries that one they would say refugees will not run away from danger and go to another dangerous spot. Let's look at our refugee policy. It is not in so many countries, by the way. If you look at our refugee policy, that is the country's policy in 2006 when we adopted this. These are the terms that really make it a conducive environment away from the peace. It provides free health care, education in refugee settlements, and permits refugees to move freely and work in the country, establish businesses, and access public service such as health, education, water, and sanitation. Refugees are also allocated small plots of land for housing and farming. So this is in very few countries apart from Uganda. So much why they yearn for us, because they know that even when you take these refugees there is a good, friendly policy. So that does good for international relations. Then when we look at benefits of host communities, I once moved to Changwali, that is in Hoima district. There was a time when there was some argument over water source. But I want to tell you, these communities, you know, refugees have more of funding from the Western world. That's why you see that you'd not hear most of the issues come to Parliament in terms of budgetary allocation or what. But the services in these camps, some locals, what government has not been able to offer for its people, come and benefit from these services. If you want hospitals, water sources, because they are put in these camps, so that locals come and benefit from these as well. When we look at, in terms of business, there is so much economic activity that happens here. And sometimes you see that the locals in these areas have an opportunity to carry out smooth trade with these people. However, benefits pointed at, there's also so much that as a country we are losing. First and foremost, we've seen sometimes where host communities have become hostile when competing for these resources. We've also seen how we clear huge areas, chunks of land for these settlements to take place, and that is in terms of the environment. But also in terms of finances, sometimes host communities end up going out of their way to look for finances. I want to just remind you, it was in 2017 when Uganda hosted, that is the Refugee Solidarity Summit, with the aim of raising $2 billion US. I want to tell you till today, we do not even have half of that money. And in one way or the other, it stresses Uganda in terms of helping avail these huge chunks of money. But I also conclude with the words of the immediate former Prime Minister, that is Dr. Hakana Rugunda. That was in 2018 when we were commemorating World Refugees Day. He said, today it is them, tomorrow it could be any of us.
Okay, thank you so much. Felix, he has talked about advantages and disadvantages, but reflecting one on the current challenges that we do have, COVID-19 as a pandemic is here, and already as a country we're struggling. Vaccinations are still pending to cover even the 21 million Ugandans that we're supposed to cover. So we have refugees that are coming into this country, which are going to increase on the health sector burden. Yes, we do have the UN High Commission for Refugees in Uganda, and its representative Joel Batre actually came out to say that he's thankful for Uganda's generosity. But then how about Uganda's service delivery? Is it not going to be pulled backwards in this regard?
No, I think it is quite not the expectation. However, I would rather make concern about how does Uganda use its good and beautiful or very nice refugee policy as a point of bargain for its socio-economic, medical, and of course infrastructure development. How does that in its own self become an opportunity? I think the fact that this is no longer a myth or a discussion, it's a fact. Now we must be eager to cause discourse in terms of how do we turn that to be an opportunity. And this is probably what we should even discuss as a country. For example, you're talking about at the request of the US, how do we use that as a bargain? For example, we've been looking for drugs for vaccinations.
That's how do we make it a swap deal?
Yes, how can we
help you, we help
exactly.
You in this
how do we use these as an opportunity? If you are bringing refugees from a country that is probably has a background of issues like Afghanistan, I don't know what they are known for, probably textile and what. How do we use these people?
So how do we trade our peace and security conducive environment? For development. For development. Because the guarantee is that we have what to offer and we are offering it. But what is in for us at a national level? You know, away from these people buying butunguru, nyanya, buto, I think even Ugandans can buy those things without them buying. But we can try to throw the spear further, and that's what the argument of the minister of disaster preparedness when was talking about buying of food. That's what I was going to actually bring in. Exactly. Minister Hilary Onek came out, it was recently when he was receiving a contribution from the Japanese government in regards to refugees, and he actually did put UN to the bar in terms of buy Uganda, build Uganda. If you're going to service these camps, if you're going to service these refugees, why not do it in such a way that actually uplifts the economy in terms of buy the food from here instead of bringing in food from out of the country? And why don't you buy the resources here, medical supplies? Why don't you buy them from here or contract locals to actually supply?
So that is one of the ways we would also benefit more away from employment.
Which would be a larger scale benefit than the nyanya butunguru.
So, and that's what I was trying to say, that these bargains should be entered at inception of some of these contracts, not past consideration, because they are then useless. Hilary Onek's sentiments were very good, but they were useless. They were simply statements. But if you have an opportunity at inception of these agreements with these agencies, these are the discussions you must put in some of these MOUs. That, for example, if we are to host this particular number of what? So
these are the terms and
can we get a guarantee from UN that it will purchase the foods for these camps from locals? Now, then it will be, the burden will be on Ugandans to make good some of these agreements. For example, if you're talking about issues of transportation, you know, look at issues of supply for these people. Look at issues of construction. Look at all these services offered. That's what I'm saying, that away from these communal benefits, let us look at a national level of bargain. Let us bargain at that level. Because if we are #1 in Africa, so what? Unless you turn that into potential benefit. If you're #3 in the world, who cares? Unless you turn that. Now, people should be able to tally. Those guys, like, for example, someone would say, Uganda is the #1 country in Africa with a good refugee policy, and it has benefited enormously because every time it gets this, it has been able to have a market for its food. It's third in the world, so that's why it was easy for it to get vaccinations for COVID.
No.
But who cares? So it is not good enough for to have this beacon in Uganda. But if we can use our status, refugee policy status, for international bargain, what would we suffer to get COVID vaccination?
Let's look at it from the angle of the state refugee status in Uganda, from the angle of the natives, the Ugandan here. To what disadvantage is it in terms of labor force, in terms of trade, in terms of encroachment on land? Now you have refugees owning properties, you know,
as long as they have not stolen the property. Well, Ugandans have sold to them willing buyer, willing seller. So,
well, in the first place, Priscilla, like I told you, most of these camps are areas that had initial people that were occupying them. So when government comes and gazettes their challenges there, when you go to Changwali, you find that at one time, government had to intervene where there was a fight over a water source, just water. Second, in terms of employment, still, you find that because of our policy that allows them to engage into business freely. Go downtown, you've seen the Congolese and Vitenji. You know, this, is it tie and dye? How they have entered into that industry. That now you see even Ugandans are competing. So there is at times so much competition for the scarce resources that we have. That is something we can't walk away. However, like Felix said, how do we ensure that the public, that the natives find value in hosting these refugees and just not see people who are coming to infringe or take on their opportunities? There's also a key word I had here, temporary, on a temporary basis.
But you see, who determines temporary? Temporary is until their home place is actually safe and secure for them to return,
so we are hosting
which is not any time soon.
On temporary basis. I hope this time we see what temporary basis will mean. Because we first hosted refugees from that was just after the Second World War. They were Polish, about 7,000, but I think for them they somehow
to this day you have their generations still existing.
So now this is something
Uganda.
we should look at. But also, I look at the security aspect. Priscilla, we've had our brothers from South Sudan, Congo. Kenya has had a number of attacks, tourism attacks. But because they are more next to Somalia and they have a number of Somalis there, you find that people come from these camps and do this. Now we are bringing in Afghanistan people. Felix, background in terms of such area could also be something. So this also needs, may have a potential.
As a roundup, Mr. President on Saturday gave a security briefing for the country, and he did make mention of human rights and total limitation in terms of enforcement of law and order. Some have tried to tie it with the fact that now, a few days later or a few hours later, we're having receipt of refugees coming in from Afghanistan. Nevertheless, what is the implication on the security and peace into the country?
As I said, the only way you can have refugees is when you're a peaceful country. That's the bottom line. Secondly, these refugees coming to Uganda, we have not had a case, a major case. We have had sporadic issues, refugees, and mostly in the border areas of Kisoro, Congo and around. But we have not had major issues as threats from refugees. And I believe these people are screened. As they come here, they are recorded, they have their data, also background.
You've spoken of screening, just and as someone did make comment that the reason as to why USA would rather first ask a host nation to receive the refugees as they prepare them to resettle back in the USA is because of that same screening thing. Just in case some of them are actually terrorists or have bad records, they would rather put them in another place than deal with them in their own country where it could escalate into terrorism in one way or another.
Yeah, but terrorists have targets. They don't just, I think normally, what I think.
And they get bases where they can, bases where they can regroup from. They take over any advantage.
Anyway, I think that would be far-fetched.
Let him finish.
I think that would be far-fetched if we are talking about regrouping what and all. I think we can simply focus on the fact that they need a home right now because of what's happening in Afghanistan. Honestly, if you've been seeing what's on TV, we are happy to host these people as a humanitarian species, and we pray that our relationship with them actually makes them comfortable. Because at the end of the day, we are all children of the world, just as you said, Rakana Rugunda said. Uganda at some point had a hot place here and people are running to Tanzania. So I think, from me, we are very happy to host these people and we pray that they find comfort and solace in this beautiful country.
But we also do COVID-19 screening. We hope that is done as the agenda.
We're going to just take a comment from here, then I'll look at the other comments later on. Juliana is just like Joanita Kawalia for Afrigo Band, very modest. But away from that, this world is bigger than all of us. We are visitors and we need to feel sorry for everyone. Look at how the aircraft that took off when the children and the people were actually getting onto the aircraft wheels. When it's getting into the air, women and men were yelling to be flown out of Afghanistan. A month ago, Afghanistan never expected this. Let's help them. They need life as much as we do. That's a very good message. They didn't leave their name, but let me see. Wanyama Ben.
Thank you so much, Ben. That is so heavenly a comment, I tell you. And I hope that we all have these open arms as we receive these people. We are all children of the world. We don't know where the world will place us for whatever reasons. Thank you so much.
Today it's Afghanistan, tomorrow it could be Uganda. Yeah. So it's better you plant the seeds of gold today, and then we can be able to harvest gold later on as a country. We do have the news review coming through here on Good Morning Uganda. Later on, we'll go through your comments again, and also traffic. Molen Kenyana is ready, preparing for you. Weather, nature, and climate conversations. Ruben Pima Chivirango is also going to be later on here, crowning up with the world of sports.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Echa COVID-19 kijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
Experience 100% 4G speeds across Uganda with the Airtel 4G Pocket Wi-Fi available at 123,000 shillings only. It comes with 15 GB free for 1 month. Visit the nearest Airtel shop, device selling shop, or Airtel online shop. www.airtel.co.ug/broadband-discover. Airtel, the smartphone network.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Start your day an informed person when you choose us as your TV station of choice every weekday from 6:30 to the hour of 9. We are here to ensure to spice up your morning with relevant, authentic information. It's now time we look at what is making headlines in the print media. I'm holding the New Vision and Felix has the Daily Monitor. Well, a very big headline: why US asked Uganda to host, that is the Afghanistan refugees. They give you reasons as to why we were chosen among other countries. Then we look at Kando blows out, that is Lieutenant General Pecos Kutesa's Kando burns out. That is a Bush War general who died in India. Then we have polio scare. Government declares health emergency over resurgency. That is something we talked about earlier in this program. Be alert. Also, Bailiff Chirunda remanded over murder. That is to Kitaya prison there. And in the education bit of the New Vision, we have Senior 4 Biology, Chemistry, Geography, and Senior 2 English plus a free total. That is copy there for you. Well, my China essay, the people that wrote and the winners there, learning more regarding China or about China There's a picture there of all the winners. Yes, Nkunda.
Now in our Daily Monitor, General Pecos Kutesa, 65, dies in India hospital. Now Uganda to host Afghan refugees in Nambole, and government officials hold crisis meeting deep into the night to hammer out plans to host refugees fleeing in the new regime in Kabul after news leaked that US requested Uganda to take in the asylum seekers. Of course, there's a very unsightly photo here of people trying to cling onto Air Force plane there. Now, new polio strain and buying a house online, what do you need to know? But of course, also from the archives, a photo of the former president Binali Issa with Kenyan President Daniel Arap Moi, and in history today, Teso's Hitler forms army to oust Museveni, and Hitler suspends euthanasia program. That is in 18th of August 1941.
In the new vision, we look at the Uganda COVID-19 tracker, where new confirmed cases are 62, then positivity rate 2.8, the new death 12 persons, and total deaths stand at 2,905. Just a reminder of signs and symptoms here. You get a fever, you get cough, shortness of breath, sore throat, and headache. Seek medical attention. The earlier, the better, and the chances. Then we look at the archives today in history. That is Abraham Chepchiro here wins bronze, and still on this very date, but the year 1964, South Africa banned from the Olympics. And something regarding twins: does failure to perform twin rituals cause skin punches? Okay, that is something there for you.
Now in sports, we'll be looking at Gaddafi promoted Arua Hill Big League winners, and also World Under-20 Championships. That's optimism after begging for medals at the Tokyo Olympics. Now Benfica and of course Eindhoven start their UEFA Champions League campaigns there, and Middleton sends Bucks past Sun in NBA Finals at 2-2. Nainachiwala posts to headline FUFA General Assembly there, and also teenage runners carry Olympics vibes at under 20.
In the new vision, Sport Future Stars, they bring you some of the future stars. That is in the U20 World Athletics Championship that is happening in Nairobi, and also Team Uganda shortly before departure to the U20 World Athletics Championships, which are underway in Nairobi. Then Kiplimo in Diamond League. But also we have the Silverbacks are in a sport of, that is brother now. But remember, these and more, Ruben will be here to give you all the catchy stories and of course training topics in the world of sports.
Now of course also Daily Nation will be looking at high stakes fight for Western vote and Ruto tears into Uhuru's 2021 succession plan. Now why vaccine uptake is in counties is so low, and of course also the price of cheap fuel in Nakuru and Ludioni. Now much of that is what you can get when you get yourself a copy of the papers, but also we can't wait to hear from the traffic lady on where she will be taking us today.
Well, we get to see matters we're expecting refugees in the country. We are also just reminding you that you can take an opportunity right into your hands. We do have industrialization that has been growing the economy in the last 5 years, and we get to start off our traffic journey from Namave Industrial Park, where you do have different entities and companies that are in this industrial space. You do have a car company, Toyota Uganda. You have a trucks and bus company in Namave. You do have decorators and wedding planners, a plastics company. You do have a paper company. You do have a lubricants company manufacturing lubricants for vehicles. You also do have actually a cement depot in this very same area. So if you can make a visit to Uganda Investment Authority, you can be able to tap into the investment opportunities that are available for you as Ugandans. But away from that, Namave Industrial Park is on the Kampala-Jinja Highway, upon which we get to see heavy build-up of jam on that particular area. The other side, Namave Forest Reserve. On either side of the Kampala-Jinja Highway, you do have industries and companies. You do have manufacturing companies on either side. And so you would be expecting that this traffic jam is heavily caused by the fact that it's morning time and trucks are in to actually be loaded or offloaded to be able to distribute to the different regions of the country from these industries. So away from that, you get to see that Namamve is actually heavily jammed up right now. In case you are in a rush, you might want to find an alternative route, and the alternative routes are actually in there. If you go through the Namamve Industrial Park here, where you do have Investment Authority, you can actually access the back route of the Namamve next to the police post, and you can be able to get to the Bwegere Industrial Area Road. This is the back route of that Namamve area of the Kampala-Jinja Highway Road, and that will drop you straight into where you do have Nambole. That is where it's going to bring you. However, nevertheless, people have also discovered that it's a shortcut, and in some places, especially around edging closer to Bwegere, you get to see that route also picking up traffic jam onto Joker's Hotel and into Chireka Nambole area code. You get to see a long stretch of traffic jam in that regard because people are using it as the alternative route away from the Kampala-Jinja Highway. Speaking of which, from Namamve, we definitely come into Bwegere. In Bwegere, you do see the jam loosening up a little bit up until we get into Bwegere Trading Center, where it interfaces with Chobe Road, brings in traffic from Nambole and then also traffic from the city center. And so you get to see that at the Trading Center this morning, you do have a red zone for the traffic that has used the back route of Nambole to be able to escape the jam and the potholes. The potholes between the stretch of the northern bypass and to the Trading Center. There's serious potholes there, so they reduce on how fast you can move, and also the fact that trucks have to maneuver in a different angle causes a lot of jams. So people opt for the Nambole route to be able to come out into the Trading Center, which shows you the red zone here. Also, because there's so many residents here trying to get into the heart of the city or even connect to Mukono or Eastern Uganda, that is why you do have somewhere in here you do have a taxi park or temporary basis that is also contributing to the flow of jam. The Trading Center route in particular is narrow, so it also causes a lot of jam. You do have a lot of jam that is coming in from Chobe Road. That is also a reflection of the residentials that are coming into and interfacing with the main route. Speaking of the main route, we want to see around Nambole, how does the traffic look on either side? So if you're using the main route onto where you do have the bypass intersection, it looks clear, but trust you me, when you see this orange, this zone here is where it's a bit impassable, especially for my cars or saloon cars. The potholes keep getting deeper and deeper, and there's not been a resolution in terms of that regard to sort that out. And so you usually have a lot of jam because cars have to really slow down to be able to maneuver in past these potholes. That's why you're seeing a lot of jam. Yes, this would have been the direct route from Chireka into Bwegere Trading Center. So people will opt for the Nambole route. Yet this morning, the Nambole route is also having a lot of jam building up, especially for the connection that you have right there for Chireka Road, from industrial area into Chireka Road. That intersection at the Nambole gate there also brings in a lot of traffic jam because people are trying to move away from the Chireka jam on the main route and come through Nambole, connect to Chireka Road to be able to maybe come out from Chinawataka on Spear Motors. That would be the alternative route there. So you get to see that straight taking in a lot of jam around Bwegere. Also here down of Chirinya Bukasa Road, you also get to see traffic jam that is building up on that particular route around Nambole. And yet, funny enough, our main route somewhere is clear up until it comes back. So Chireka Road is also having a lot of jam this morning. We are getting to see that jam adjacent to Nambole Road. This is supposed to be an alternative route, but obviously everyone is using the alternative route, and so it would be advisable that you actually use the main route within this next hour to be able to make it to town in time. The rest of Chireka is actually having a lot of jam. You do have Chireka Road bringing you back to the trading center in Chireka, which again also is looking bad in terms of traffic. You have a lot of traffic that is coming in from Kamudi Road, a lot of traffic that is coming in from the other side where you do have Namugongo people trying to access this side side of town. So they will come through Chireka Trading Center, and that is causing a lot of jam, especially within the trading center. And the connecting routes onto the main road are quite many, so it does contribute to the jam. But if we are to follow the back route adjacent to the main route again, because everyone is this side, the main route, that is Chireka Banda into Nakawa, is actually clear. Adjacent to it, Chireka Road on the other side is having a lot of traffic heading into the heart of the city, and then we get to bring it into where they actually come into some sort of interception in Chinawataka, and that gives you a picture that, again, people are on this other side, and the only traffic jam that you start seeing building up there is when you are heading straight into the Nakawa area code, where you do have Spear Motors. And again, because there are industries here on either side of this particular area code, that is why you see jam building up, being caused heavily by the trucks that are in motion this morning. When you come to the Spear Motors traffic jam, to Ntinda and from Ntinda, there's not so much jam. That road is actually being constructed, not yet fully opened, but at least it's about 90% works from the last report we had, and it shows you that it has changed the flow of traffic from Ntinda and also to Ntinda. Nakawa Ginger Road connecting into Chinawataka is another connecting route that has a lot of trucks, but moving into the Spear Motors junction, it's actually a clear route. It's only vehicles that are moving away from the junction heading to Chinawataka, and possibly using the alternative route of going through Bugolobi and coming out from the Airtel roundabout. So those are some of the considerations if you're coming from the eastern part of the city to consider while coming into town. Now, speaking of consideration, we do have consideration of your messages that you have sent in regards to the refugees that we are expected to receive, 2,000 in number from Afghanistan, and we want to check out a few of your comments. Okay, Mehdi says if government agrees to set up an industry for those refugees in order to reduce on their needs, idleness, unemployment, and to prevent overspreading of disease, it will be nice for Ugandans and not a burden on the government. So that's a comment that's coming in from Nedi. We're going to be looking at more of your comments, but Molen Kenyana coming through with weather, nature, and climate. Good morning to you, Molen.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Priscilla.
How are you, and your response to the refugees that we're expecting?
I am fine, and for me, I always believe in humanity, and I feel like us actually receiving these refugees is an act of humanity. I mean, they are also suffering from their country and they need refuge. Someone needed to take that on, and if it is Uganda, we should actually take pleasure in that, except that obviously there's going to be challenges that come with taking people in. Like any other home, having an extra person in a home, you need to stretch more on your budget, and that is what Uganda should be looking at right now. How do we then deal with the situation? But I think that it's a good move, and I applaud the country for doing that.
All right. Yeah. Well, we would like to know from you how this does affect nature, climate, and also the environment at large as you take us through nature and weather.
Yes, Priscilla, thank you very much, and very good morning to you all once again. Yes, this morning we did wake up with devastating news, though still coming in from Haiti after they have been hit by an earthquake earlier this week. Now there is news that there is a developing tropical storm, that is Tropical Storm Grace, that is over. Now some of the images that we're showing you are from the areas that were hit by the earthquake. Now this morning, 2 hours ago actually, the reports from the Civil Protection Agency says that the death toll has raised to 1,941 people from the effect of the earthquake, and more people have actually, more homes have been lost, and people are still devastated over that area. And those are all coming in from this natural disaster. Now, as if that was not enough, on Tuesday they did forecast a tropical storm Grace that has been raging coming their way, and now it is also bringing heavy rainfall across areas, still devastating homes within that area. Now the tropical storm has been forecasted from the east coast of Mexico and likely to be a hurricane. It is under hurricane warning. Well, we also have fires. That picture that you're seeing on the screen is from the fires that we have also noticed across California. Now, this is just continuing to happen across this region. And earlier this month, we did see more wildfires breaking up in California. But these are just additions to that, what is happening over there. More on extreme weather that we're seeing across the country and across the world. But also we want to look at mostly the drought stress, especially for Africa. We've had drought across Madagascar, but also there are more drought cases that are coming in over and across the world now. This is coming in from WMO that is showing the most devastating droughts in the last 50 years. Now, in 2020, the Patana region of Brazil and Paraguay and Bolivia witnessed the most devastating drought in history. That is for the last 50 years. But also, it's confusing how you look at one area of the world experiencing heavy rainfall and floods and tropical cyclones, and then there is another area going through droughts. It's all, in fact, related to the changing climate. And the evidence is there. We've already had effects that are relating to all these individual events across the world. One part of the world might be experiencing extreme flooding or hurricanes, wildfires. Then there is another that is actually experiencing floods. It's all related, but mainly related to the global warming trend and the rising trend. Currently, we are looking at a rise in temperatures close to 1.2 degrees, and our set target is at 1.5 degrees Celsius in terms of increase. So this is all going to continue happening if we do not take on the response in terms of climate action. Now, that video is showing us some of the homes that are still devastated in Haiti due to the current tropical storm that has hit the area following the earthquake, actually. So now you can imagine, for people who have lost their homes, now they have to deal with these rains, still search and rescue going over the area, trying to make sure they can actually find more people that have been buried into the debris from the earthquake. But then again, they have to deal with the rainy conditions, and this could only get worse. We do expect more areas to actually take on most of these rains, as it is being forecast to develop into a hurricane. We'll be giving you more of those updates as they come in. Well, I want to take a look at what we have for you this morning across Uganda, and from the satellites I can tell you we do see a reduction in wet weather conditions. Most areas are having mostly sunny skies with a little bit of intervals of cloudy conditions, but also those are only bringing in a mix of clouds and sunshine. We start off with Central Lake Victoria Basin. That is where we have Mukono, we have Kampala, we have Entebbe and Wakiso. We are forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, and temperatures are going to be at a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade. You cannot complain. Well, central northern Uganda, that is where we have Gulu, Kitgum-Padel and Adjumani. We're also forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine. Quite a warm day over there, starting off at 27 and likely to hit into the 30s as the day progresses. We still do expect most of those sunny conditions to continue into the afternoon across central northern Uganda. Well, looking more on what we have for you for eastern parts of central, that is where we have Wobulenzi, we have Nakaseke, Ruwero, Bururi, Nakasongola. We are forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, and also starting off at 27 degrees centigrade. Can only get warmer in the afternoon. We could also hit into the 30s as the day progresses. That is over the eastern part of central. For eastern Uganda, where we have Amuria, Kumi, Soroti and Katakwi, we're also forecasting mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. We are already having those sunny conditions over there, but those clouds will also be coming in intervals, starting off at a warm 27 degrees centigrade, and also will just get warmer as the day progresses. Looks like most areas are going to be dealing with warm conditions this morning. Adding into eastern Lake Victoria Basin, where we have Tororo, Iganga, Jinja and Busia. We're also forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine. We're already having that beautiful sun coming through, but there will be clouds in the intervals, still at a maximum of 27 for this morning, but we will see temperatures go higher as well as the day progresses. For Mount Elgon Highlands, that is where we have Mbale, we have Bududa, Boko and Sironko. We are forecasting intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions, starting off at a normal 26 degrees centigrade for this time of the year across this region. But that area can expect to have a little bit of rains later in the afternoon. Most of those clouds will be developing into light rains as the day progresses, so you can look out for those. Well, southwestern Uganda, we have Bushenyi, Rubirizi, Ibanda, Mbarara. That is where we have Shema also in that category. We're forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, and temperatures will be at 26 degrees centigrade, quite similar to what we were dealing with yesterday. It's quite comfortable for the morning over that area. Well, looking at western part of Lake Victoria, that is where we have Masaka, we have Sembabule, Rakai, also forecasting those intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. Right now, mostly cloudy. We have that sun coming through, but temperatures will be at 26, and you can expect to have some light rains developing during the day. As the day progresses, most of those clouds will be bringing in light rains, but also those will be isolated over a few areas. Now, it looks like most areas this morning are dealing with mostly less wet weather conditions. We are having a mix of clouds and sunshine, and later in the afternoon as well, it will actually get warmer. And I can tell you from the forecast, it looks like we could be dealing with similar conditions even tomorrow as we head into the weekend, but then we'll have more rainfall pick up as we head towards the weekend, especially for the western part of the country, also across Lake Kyoga, in parts of West Nile especially. You can look out for rains coming in later as we head into the weekend. But for now, most areas are likely to be having reduced wet weather conditions, so do prepare for those dry conditions at least until Friday. Well, my name is Molin Kenyana. I will leave you with Priscilla. She still has to take you through some of the messages that we have, but also later we'll be having Robert here with Good Morning Uganda agenda. Oh, that is a very beautiful picture that is just coming in, and that is from Mubarak in South Sudan. That is very nice, coming in from South Sudan. Thank you very much, Mubarak, for sending in that. And we still continue to ask you to share with us most of your sunrise pictures that are coming through. Well, South Sudan really looks nice this morning, and we will have more of those coming in. Just keep sending to our WhatsApp number like it is being shared, and Priscilla will be taking you through some of the comments that you're also giving us on our topic of the day. Priscilla, what is coming through from our viewers?
Well, first of all, I'm going to task you to also send us your sunrise photo after here. But coming in from our viewers in response to the Afghanistan refugee conversation that has taken waves for every Ugandan talking conversation this morning. Emma's, you're saying good for us as NGOs later on get attracted to come and actually give support, which we recently saw from the Japanese and Chinese governments. So they came through to support in terms of hosting communities. So he also continues to say host communities also get to benefit, which is a safe, wishing them a safe journey as long as they're COVID-free. That is Emma's opinion in this regard. We do have another message here. Uganda can, why it's godly country with peace and peaceful people, very welcoming to everyone. So since then, it's not the first time to come and I think to receive refugees in that regard. So that's a very interesting comment, that the fact that we are a hospitable country, we are ever welcoming with big smiles. That is going to go a long way in helping the Afghanistan refugees resettle into Uganda. Oduo David, you're saying we are Ugandans, the cranes very gentle and most friendly, but when disaster minister receives host funding from the UN, it should not be for personal gains, but for all Ugandans. Okay, that's a good question. Good comment. Not personal gain, but for all Ugandans' benefit. I like the discussion. However, I would like to contribute that as much as we are all prone to refugee status, the higher number of refugees we host, the more we are going to actually destroy our environment, which is something Molen has actually hinted on. The refugees are most likely to destroy our vegetation and eventually affect our climate. I think that's in regards to population and encroachment on environment. That would be what they are putting in that regard. I'm seeing some loopholes in our security system on an already failing system. That's another message that is coming in there. We do have another message here. I think for what is going on in Afghanistan, we need to help by all means, because we are brothers and we know what they are running away from. And if we can hold refugees from all other countries, I think that our big hearts can, even if we are a third world country, we are still friendly. Our big hearts as Uganda, indeed. Pearl of Africa, we are blessed with so much and we can share with it on a temporary basis to these Afghanistan refugees as they're coming in. So I like the fact that some of you are actually warming up to the idea that these refugees are coming and not looking at it in a negative way. We do have the spokesperson for KCCA coming into our 8 o'clock hour with Robert Kirabo. They're going to be discussing, among many things, the vaccination drive within Kampala City. Good morning to you.
This is Good Morning Uganda.